Yes, the rain is good for the wine season. It's good for the grapes to grow, but
They'll need a bit of sunshine as well, though, won't they?
yeah, that would have been nice today, actually.
As I said to our digital viewers, actually, this is more or less the border between Vaud and Valais, just up the road, so might not have got my denomination of origin completely correct for the wine, though, so forgive me if that's right. But we're in that sort of region where there's a bit of a microclimate here in Switzerland, down this valley, and certainly when you get past Martigny in the next valley at the end of the road, a heck of a lot of sunshine compared to the rest of the country. No wonder they grow the good stuff around here.
Do you think even today there would be some sunshine?
You would think so. They had other ideas, didn't we? Good to see that most riders seem to have got back on here, because that was an interesting split forming for a while, and we hadn't seen anything happen or explanation as to why there had been the split. But it does look like DSM are racing at the front.
Yes, yeah. I was almost thinking that we missed a crash or something, but I think it's just it was just one long line, and it looked like a big gap, but actually it wasn't that big. The speed is really high in the downhill.
And there's the view towards the back of those trying to chase back on. A few dropped on that climb. This is Jon Pryce Petersen on the left-hand side. He, of course, was up there in the time trial, wasn't he? He's 5th place in the general classification, the young Danish rider. Race number 46 for Bahrain Victorious. In his team today, we're looking at Pello Bilbao and Gino Mäder. Because there's quite a gap to get back on here. So, off they come. Col des Mousts. Jump over the tram tracks. And into town quickly to Aigle. Thankfully, everything well signalled. But look at the speed. They are flying down here.
It's really going fast here. But it looks like there's going to be a whole peloton at the bottom of the climb.
Again, not too much time for people to get organised, however.
No, because the last climb is actually, it already goes up from 11k before the finish. Then there is a sprint at 10k, or like, actually it's 9.7 kilometers before the finish. I think the sprints for the points for the black jersey, but it already goes up before. At 11 kilometers, you have to be in front as you want to go in front of the climb, start in front of the climb.
I talked about the stage that was won by Larry Warbasse a couple of times earlier on today. This is almost a carbon copy of that stage, because they started in the Swiss capital in Bern back then, and it was about 10 kilometres shorter on that day. But it was a fairly short mountain stage, just 2 climbs, Col des Mousts, then the descent, a wave to the UCI, and then a climb up to Villars-sur-Roland. Interesting to see how it goes today. That time was a breakaway, but it came later in the race as well. Today, stage 3. GC difference is not huge. Somebody will want to make their stamp on the race today.
I think so too, because if the breakaway would have made it, they were likely to get the GC as well. And I don't think that's what the GC leaders want. Like, it's just a 1-week race. It's not that it's 3 weeks and you can get the jersey back really easy later on. I think the GC guys just want to race each other already today, or at least like Remco Evenepoel doesn't have to win anything, but the differences after the first time trial are pretty big. So there are some GC guys, like also Gino Mäder, who is racing in his home country. He has to make up 51 seconds already. So they want to race today on that final climb, and they don't want to give it away to the breakaway.
That's the UCI World Cycling Centre that I was talking about. Home to many riders who don't perhaps have the facilities in their own countries to follow their dream of becoming a professional cyclist, to talented riders from around the world. Plenty of top riders have been through here who don't come from traditional cycling nations in Europe. There's an indoor track there as well. Great for training out there on the roads. You can see the BMX track as well on the left-hand side. All facilities at UCI HQ there. Although one thing I'll never understand is the track's not 250 metres long, which is the UCI standard. It's one thing that's always perplexed me when they built their own track, but it is a wonderful facility anyway. You can see it's positioned in quite a beautiful part of the world as well. You've got Lac Le Mans, Lake Geneva, just a few minutes away. Montreux, a lovely town not too far away as well on the lakeside. And the riding up in the mountains for anybody coming and training up here, as we just saw, is pretty spectacular and as difficult as you want to make it as well.
Yes, it's beautiful training area to be here, and it's really, I think it's also a really good initiative for all the riders from all over the world who don't have the support from their own countries to become a cyclist, that they can come here and train here together, race here together, learn how to become a professional cyclist.
Kevin Vermaerke in the black jersey there, rider from the US. His leader, wearing 141, sits on the wheel of another teammate of his. That teammate is Matthew Dinham. The leader, of course, is Romain Bardet. There's Skjelmose wearing 161, who we've talked about as well.
Really looking forward to seeing him climbing today against Remco Evenepoel and Ayuso. And of course all the other GC guys.
Matteo Sobrero being moved up into position. Here is Remco Evenepoel towards the back. Wout van Aert just alongside him as well. Biniam Girmay still towards the front of the peloton as well. Just proves that he is climbing exceptionally well at the moment on his way to that Tour de France debut. We saw how well he was sprinting yesterday, certainly no worries in that department. So a slight reorganisation.
He proved himself yesterday with a good sprint, but curious what he does today. I don't think he will compete for the win, but maybe he will try to come as far as possible, just for training.
Yeah, the training aspect is the main thing in this race, isn't it, for a lot of the peloton? Of course, Girmay got the win, which helps, doesn't it? But the next split in the peloton is not quite been closed. Little groups on their way back here. And in terms of general classification, has anybody been caught out? That's the question. There's a couple of riders from Groupama FDJ there. There's a Jumbo-Visma rider as well. And from Q36.5, that's Carl Fredrik Hagen. Jakob Fuglsang caught out behind and out in a split. We know he's been coming back to training and racing very slowly after medical issues that he had during the spring. He was away down in the time trial, and today looks as though he might struggle to make the peloton before we begin the climb, because that's the town of Holon just up there, and we're about to begin our final climb to Villars-sur-Holon, with Quinn Simmons in the red and white looking after Matthias Skjelmose. Mark Hirschi, Swiss rider, just looking around. He comes from an area not too far from the start today. And we're here over the hill in French-speaking Switzerland now, ready to climb again.
And I wonder, because here she is, of course, riding for Ayuso today, and also Jay Fine, who's been doing actually really good in the Giro as well. He was a really good domestic for Almeida there, who got third in the Giro, but he crashed yesterday pretty hard. So I wonder how he's feeling and if he can help Ayuso today on the final climb, because it could be a decisive, actually, if he can help Ayuso with some tactics against Remco Evenepoel.
We'll keep our eyes on how it develops. Simon Geschke in this group as well, who's been distanced. Was Jakob Fuglsang alongside teammate of his there. Schachmann towards the front for Bora Hansgrohe. In that team as well, there's plenty of climbing talent, isn't there? Uijtdebroeks, Fabro and Higuita. Here's Wout van Aert, left-hand side. We're going for the intermediate sprint, and he does want to keep those points and make the jersey his. And the black jersey, of course, there are points on the finish line at every stage, but he's trying to make sure that he's up there as far as possible. And Wout van Aert, who goes for those points, keeps going. Looks as though Biniam Girmay will follow over with Mike Teunissen as well.
It could be for training, but it could also be for Kelderman to make it hard directly from the start, because it's pretty steep directly from the start. We're getting to those sections from 10%. The first 2 kilometers is an average of almost 10%. So if the speed is high on this first part, it directly is the first. It will cause the first break in the peloton.
Rider straight onto the wheel there from Bahrain, closing the gap. Looks like from Miholjevic. And here's the final climb of the day, 9.7 kilometers long to Villars-sur-Holon. Average gradient of 7.8%, but maximum of 10.3. This is a different beast than the one we just had. It's harder, it's steeper, and at the end, there's a stage win and perhaps even a yellow jersey as the prize.
And it's interesting that Bahrain is directly on the wheel of Wout van Aert, because they're having a good block of climbers here with Meder, of course with Bilbao.
Bilbao, of course, wants to be ready, doesn't he, for that Tour de France beginning right in his home country. A little look back behind Wout van Aert, 3 wheels, 4 wheels back. You can see the rain jacket open, showing their yellow jersey. And there is Stefan Küng, the race leader. Then Tulit is the most advanced of the Ineos Grenadiers in the red jersey. Just gone out your picture now. Will probably ride into it on the left-hand side.
Interesting what he will do.
And there he is, wearing number 7, alongside Romain Bardet, who's just behind him on the right-hand side. 93 there is Rui Costa, as Remco Evenepoel starts to move up now. White jersey on his back. 74 is Neilson Paulus in the pink. And Evenepoel going to the front out of your picture now. Certainly looks like he's responded to an acceleration now. Juan Ayuso a little bit further down. Pidcock moving up. Jonas Aguirre is there wearing 61. 71 is Rigoberto Urán. And there is Max Schachmann towards the back.
So we don't really miss one of the favorites in the front. They're all here at the start of the climb.
Sobrero. And the reason that there was that move up there from Remco Evenepoel was that Wout van Aert's turn was done. He's starting to drift down back through the group on the right-hand side. Mattia Cattaneo, Evenepoel's teammate, took over. And it is now the Soudal Quick-Step show as we're heading into the final 8.5 kilometers. And Remco looks ready.
He looks ready, but he just has one rider in front of him. So it's not that they have a big group of people from Soudal Quick-Step in the front anymore.
Well, does that mean we will see an early attack from him, or does that mean that he's using his team up and then he will go back and sit in the group?
I think he will sit back in the group because it's still we have 2 more mountain finishes. He actually said before this stage already that he just don't want to lose time, and when it feels easy, he might go and take some more seconds on the GC riders. But I think he will just wait today. Maybe in one of the stages which has a little bit more altitude meters, and also in the last time trial, he actually don't have to make a big difference on the climbs.
Well, Cattaneo's the man at the front. Evenepoel is the man in the white jersey on his wheel. Then you have in the blue jersey Romain Grégoire. The Frenchman is looking after his team leader from Switzerland, who is Stefan Küng in the yellow jersey. Behind him in the green, Kian Uijtdebroeks from Belgium. On the right-hand side in the pink, as you see it now, the American Neilson Paulus. Another man moves up to help out for Soudal Quick-Step, and it's the climber from Cumbria in the northwest of England, James Knox. So Soudal Quick-Step starting to get interested and organised. Behind, one by one, riders continue to lose contact. One of those riders is Wout van Aert, who did his job into the sprint and who is going to yet again dispel any myths, thoughts or theories about going for any general classification prize. The choice has been made. He knows what he's here for. He's done his job. Well done.
And I actually think it's really difficult for him to get to let himself drop here. I think it's just really wise from him because he wants to save energy for everything that's coming. Of course, he wants to train for the Tour de France, but also there's the World Championships coming, so he doesn't have to give it his all every race.
Tom Pidcock has moved up as Mattia Cattanio's turn finishes. Pidcock sitting on the wheel, the man in the red and white there, who is Matthias Schelmoser. Grégoire looking around as his teammate Kung drops a little further back. Felix Gall is in there with the brown shorts and white jersey on in about 15th position, the Austrian climber from AG2R Citroën. And this is now James Knox on the front. Remco Evenepoel, his team leader, on his wheel. Kung is starting to drift further back into the group. Going backwards too. Oh dear, dear, dear. This is early for Alexei Lutsenko.
And Lutsenko, who did a good time trial actually, only on 24 seconds in GC now from behind Remco Evenepoel. Really early on the climb that he's losing contact.
Well, 7.7 kilometers to go. And just the one teammate here for Remco Evenepoel, that's James Knox. But Knox, alongside Cattaneo himself, have done a fantastic job in only 3 kilometers or so to really, really whittle this group down.
Yes, it's not an easy climb at all. So I think even without the speed they're riding now, it's just really hard to go up. Only the middle part is a little bit easier, where it's around 6% average. Ooh.
Yeah, Higuita Monster. No monstrous ride at all from him today, Sergio Higuita. On the wheel there of Michael Cherel. A man going past him there wearing 153 is Hago Swilai Berhe. And they're way off the back. So Lutsenko and Higuita, the big surprises so far today. That's Tony Galopin. And 1-1-1 here from Movistar is Alex Aramburu. That's not a surprise. And in the black is Kevin Vermaak. He did a really good job in the valley, didn't he? Positioning Romain Bardet. Look up to the next rider there from Trek Segafredo. I'm not quite sure who that was, but I can tell you that the team leader's still at the front, sitting in third or fourth wheel here. That, of course, is Matthias Schelmoser. Tom Pidcock remains. I know you were eager to see how he was going to get on today, Yep.
Yes, because he mentioned in an interview before the start that he was looking forward to that. Actually, he was thinking that he was climbing better this year than the years before. He wants to give it a try and see how far he can come. And I'm actually also curious. I understand that a talent like him, he has to make choices where he wants to focus on. But I believe he can be a really good climber and he can compete against these riders.
Wilco Kelderman, the man in the yellow. Harold Tejada is the surviving rider for Astana up there. 57 is Uiterbrooks. Gall is accompanied by Clément Berthet. Izagirre. There is Bardet, the man we mentioned. Pello Bilbao alongside him as well. A couple of riders in there alongside Juan Ayuso, Rigoberto Urán, Max Schachmann. 143 is Matthew Dinham. 191 is Leonard van Eertveld. 93 still there, the former GC winner on multiple occasions here, Rui Costa. And Gino Meda wearing 44 at the back, little bandaged up after yesterday's fall, but there and in the group. This is Callum Scottson, and Stefan Kung is drifting towards the back. Hanging on for now.
He's still here.
Question is for how long?
Yes, and it's still a long climb till the finish, so it's going to be hard for Kung to stay in the jersey.
A reminder that there are 5 seconds of a difference between Kung and the man who sits second wheel there. Knox just turned round and said something to Remco Evenepoel. Is that the turn is about to end? Does that mean that we're about to have a change at the front? Let's see. James Knox is emptying his energy reserves here at the front for his leader Remco Evenepoel. Another look around, surveying any of the damage, waits, watches. What's left in the tank? This might be it.
And I wonder what happens if he stops to pull on the front, because I don't think Evenepoel will take over. I think it is up to one of the other teams. Maybe Ineos, who's still with a lot of riders in the first group. I don't think UAE has a lot of riders.
And we've got a move.
Ooh.
We have a move, and it is Remco Evenepoel. As soon as James Knox had finished, with Kung there at the back, this could be the move that puts Evenepoel into the virtual GC lead. Let's see how they react behind, because it's Evenepoel at the front. He's being followed at the moment by one of the riders looks like Skjelmose. There is Kung. That's the answer. Today we're going to have a new leader in the general classification.
Yes, this is the end for Kung in the yellow jersey. He has had 2 wonderful days in the yellow jersey, but now it's over. And it's nice to see Skjelmose joining Evenepoel here on the front.
And here's Felix Gall as well. The man chasing in the yellow jersey is Wilco Kelderman. On his wheel, that's Kian Uijtdebroeks. And then I think it's Harold Tejada who's still there for Astana, Kazakhstan. I'll have to double check that.
So it's actually the young riders and it's Kelderman in the front now.
So we were looking there at James Knox. It looked like he telegraphed it. There was a lot of looking around. He was giving every last ounce of energy. And Evenepoel deciding to waste no time there.
No, I think he hoped that Knox could go a little bit longer, but I think the plan was when he could not do anything anymore that he would go for himself, Evenepoel. But it doesn't look like he's giving it his all. Oh, actually it is. I thought they were coming back, but he's just giving it a high speed.
So we saw the wave to the camera from Stefan Kung. He said he'd try. He didn't know how he'd feel after coming down from altitude. And of course after having recovered from going up the Giro. Decision made for Magnus Sheffield, who goes up the back. The former winner Rui Costa is dropped, and 2-time winner of Paris-Nice Max Schachmann can't hack the pace in the front group either. Here are the 3 leaders. Remco Evenepoel doing the riding. Behind him in the red and white is Matthias Skjelmose, and third wheel there is Felix Gall, who was going so well before the Giro d'Italia, but the team decided to pull him out, send him to altitude, and try to send him to the Tour de France instead.
They might have done a good job because he's actually showing that he's worth going to the Tour de France. Because I'm surprised Kelderman is not able to be with the first 3. He's been on altitude for a long time. He's been not racing for, I believe, for 3 months or something. He's been really focusing on the Tour of Switzerland because he first was not planned to go to the Tour de France, and he can't follow these guys.
Well, let's see. And of course there's a place up for grabs, isn't there, with Stefan Kruijswijk out of action.
Yeah, and I believe Kelderman is already going to the Tour de France now, so there is a next goal, but he was actually supposed to be on his best here in the Tour of Switzerland, and of course he's doing really good, but the youngsters are just better today, or this week.
The youngster Ben Tulett has just started to go backwards. He was right at the front, wasn't he? Up alongside Gino Mäder there, who was slipping and sliding as well. And our group's all over the road with still 5 kilometers to go.
And this is a bit of an easier part in the climb. It's a little less steep here. But then the last, I think it's the last 3 Ks are steeper, and then the last K is a little bit flatter again. But there is still 2K really steep coming up. And it looks like Evenepoel has to do it by himself. The others are not helping. And I think it's a very wise decision to not help Remco Evenepoel. He proved that he can do the work and still win, and I would also sit in the wheel and wait.
Well, here's a man who's half a kilometre further back. Yellow jersey, Stefan Kung. Today we'll have a new yellow jersey. At the moment, whether he wins the stage or not, it looks likely to be Remco Evenepoel.
Yeah, Skjelmose is really close. He's on 40 seconds of Remco Evenepoel. But it's going to be too much for only bonification seconds. He needs to get some time on Evenepoel to take over the yellow jersey.
Yeah, Evenepoel at 5 seconds from Stefan Kung. Skjelmose at 19 seconds from Kung. Gall, on the other hand, at 1 minute 19. So he's not really a candidate for the yellow jersey here unless he can do something out of this world. This now is Pello Bilbao, who's starting to put a little bit of extra pressure into this chase. And well, we've been talking up the Swiss road surfaces. This one looks like it's being resurfaced at the moment. It's pretty horrible.
Yeah, it's good we're going uphill instead of going downhill now with the wet roads. It won't be too much of a problem when you go uphill. The gap is not so big. It looks like they're getting back to the first 3.
And this is Nelson Paulus trying to get back to the main group. The first 3 just sitting on the wheel of Evenepoel. It was Bilbao trying to close the wheel. Uijtdebroeks on the wheel. And this group here, seeing what's going on up ahead, will have a little carrot dangled in them. knowing that there's a chance to get back on. It's Evenepoel alone right now, and there's a danger of this lead being brought back. Pello Bilbao looking the best of the rest. Here is the man in the red jersey, rider from the Basque Country.
And he has a little gaps on the other guys. Looks like he's the only one who can close the gap.
Onto that nicer surface now as the surface being relayed comes across. Now then, it looks as though there's somebody coming across to his wheel. I think it was the rider from EF Education Easy Post. 4 kilometres remain in today's stage.
But I do miss some guys in the front. I don't see Bardet doing any work in the front.
Remco Evenepoel then with Matthias Schelmoser. Felix Gall third wheel. And behind a group including Bilbao. Uran's looking pretty good as well. Juan Ayuso's in this group, as is Wilco Kelderman at the Brooks and Company. And well, you're asking about Romain Bardet. Missing in action at the moment. This is Tom Pidcock on the back of the third group we saw there. Bardet's just trying to get back onto that second group. Just see him at the base of your picture there on the right hand side.
Yeah, pretty far. Actually, because Remco Evenepoel before the stage had Ayuso and Bardet were his biggest fears for today. But they're not in the front. Like Ayuso is in the second group, of course, but he's not doing any work.
This is what happened when the attack came. It was a sort of a look around, then a look to the other side, and then, yes, he'll push through. Schelmoser followed, and then Gall was the only other man who could follow. Tulit thought about it for a moment, but was just unable to get across.
I think it's on one of the steep sections in the beginning of the climb. And these three guys were obviously the strongest on that point. The others could just not do anything.
De Brooks is doing the riding in the group behind. Tejada still there. That's one of the performances of the day. We know he's a gifted climber, but he hasn't really done it at this level continuously in this sort of company. He's been domestic. Perhaps he's not had the chance to do that. And today with Lutsenko having gone backwards early, there he was. This now is Juan Ayuso. Out the Brooks on his wheel. Rigoberto Urán rolling back the years today. Looks like he's in good condition.
Yeah, good to see him again. But also nice to see all the young riders, I think. Ayuso being 20 years old. Out Brooks, I think, also 20 or 21 years old. Schelmoser is a really young rider. It's
Ayuso
nice, I think.
Ayuso versus Uit de Brooks, sorry, Ayuso versus Uit de Brooks, I think is going to be one of the battles of the Vuelta a España, at least forecast to be so.
Yeah, but maybe Remco Evenepoel is still going there, we don't know. Could be a battle we will see for 3 weeks longer this year.
Very quickly, I would be amazed, shocked if Evenepoel doesn't go to another Grand Tour this year. I would not understand that decision at all with the form and the year he's in his career. Now then, let's get on with the racing today. We can talk about that as the week goes on, because this is Juan Ayuso. He looks strong. He's mightily gifted. He's had quite the life so far. Born in Spain, in Barcelona, moved to the United States when he was younger to be in school. His parents were working there, so he's a good English speaker. He moved to Madrid as a youngster, then they moved to Alicante, and he's been around there. Absolutely incredible life, and he's only just 20 years of age.
Yes, he learned on a young age to travel and to... Ooh, and here's a text from Felix Gall.
Well, this is interesting. Gall is no immediate threat in the GC to Evenepoel here, but Gall is out there trying to prove a point. So good in the Tour of the Alps, where he was second on the opening stage and finished in the top 10 in the GC. Second in a one-day race at the end of May in France in the Alpes-Maritimes. And here he is on the road in Switzerland at 25 years of age, striking out, looking for his first professional victory.
Interesting, because he has really quick a big gap. And of course, Remco Evenepoel, he's not...
Well, 2.3 Ks to go. And Gaal is out there. Evenepoel in the chase. And now Skjelmose attacks. And can Evenepoel react? Skjelmose out there, and Evenepoel has nothing for the moment. This is getting interesting. Approaching 2 kilometers to the line. Maybe he's gone too soon. Or is he just riding to his numbers? Knows his body. Knows how to pace a time trial effort. Has he paced it right? There's Skjelmose. Red and white jersey on his back, and Gaal is now starting to feel this. Man who came through the ranks in Sunweb, as it was, now DSM. Since he moved to AG Desert, he really has become one of the big players here. Certainly in the last couple of springs. He failed to back it up last year at the Giro. And he made his Grand Tour debut. Looks as though he's on his way to a Tour debut here, as Ayuso is the latest one to try and put the pressure on to bring back Evenepoel. It's Gaal with a handful of seconds on Skjelmose. A further few seconds to Evenepoel. And then Tejada, Bilbao, Uijtdebroeks, Uran, Kelderman and Ayuso. So just under 2 Ks to go.
Ooh, and Remco Evenepoel is far behind now.
Looks as though they're almost on him in that group, doesn't it? Well, this climb has been so difficult in racing in the past. So many changes of gradient. One thing that is consistent is that it's steep.
But the last K is a little bit easier. So not only for Felix Gaal the last K is easier, but also for the guys behind them. And actually it's easy to organize when it's a little bit more flat, so they can still close the gap in the last K. But Felix Gaal is looking really strong today, actually.
He has been continuously getting better. He's had a really nice trajectory. Certainly after joining AG Desert. Last spring looked good.
But dropping Remco Evenepoel is not something he has done before. And of course Remco Evenepoel is coming from a period of sickness, but
Evenepoel's just been brought back. And he's now in this group with Bilbao, Uijtdebroeks, Uran, Kelderman. Evenepoel's there as well, and Juan Ayuso is the man who's brought Evenepoel in. So I wonder, is that a miscalculation from Evenepoel, or did he feel better? And we'll have to find out. But Skjelmose is looking good for me here.
Yes, Skjelmose is showing some really good things here. He was already really good in the opening time trial, so if he keeps up this gap, I think he will get the yellow jersey today.
Matthias Skjelmose, 22 years of age, from Copenhagen. Last year with a big win in Luxembourg. First pro win, then turned into a GC success, as now Evenepoel is having to work hard just to stay on the back. And this is quite the story here. It's Ayuso with the acceleration, and that was putting Evenepoel in a little bit of trouble.
Whoa, and Evenepoel is looking human today here. He just started way too early maybe. He did all the work in the first group. He probably felt strong, he's looking for some training, but he maybe just gave too much in the beginning of this climb.
So Ayuso off in search of those at the front, heading into the final kilometre now. Gaal took the red kite first. Behind him was Matthias Skjelmose. They're now together after almost 3.5 hours of racing. The last half of this race has been in the mountains and in the rain. But Juan Ayuso is hot on the heels of those two. He is looking in fine form, the Spaniard, racing for UAE. Evenepoel, who made the first move in the group behind. Still alongside Bilbao, Uijtdebroeks, Uran, Kelderman as well. But at the front, they're starting to play with each other and against each other. It's Skjelmose now who makes the move. Can Gaal react? Tries to get straight into slipstream. Heading uphill towards the line, and there it is. It looks like he might have broken him. Let's see. has to sit down again as Skjelmose tries to ride away, but with 500 metres to go, Gall changes gear and tries to get in the slipstream again. It's Mathias Skjelmose who's out there riding into the yellow jersey at the Tour de Suisse. A big moment at the end of last year when he took the win in Luxembourg, but here in a World Tour race, the latest young Dane is going to take the World Tour by storm. Gall is making one final effort here. It's been a fantastic performance from him, but it looks as though as they turn into the final ramp, he will be just short of a first ever professional victory. He's at the saddle, he's racing, he's trying, but victory on the day is going to go to Trek Segafredo. Victory on the day, it's stage and yellow jersey for Mathias Skjelmose of Trek Segafredo. Second place goes to Gall, and up there fighting for everything too is a brilliant in-form Juan Ayuso. So good to see. It's the battle of the young guns at the top of the timesheets, and here is Evenepoel fighting for pride as much of a gap. He brings them across. Uijtenbrugge is there. In the red jersey, that's Bilbao. In the yellow, you have Kelderman, and the old-timer mixing it with the young guns is that man, Rigoberto Urán. And they try to keep those differences behind. Here's Romain Bardet. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed. Jonas Aguirre coming across the line as well. And Tom Pidcock in this group too. So change of yellow jersey. Stefan Kung cedes it. Mathias Skjelmose takes it. And that is some performance, Jip van der Bos, from the new man to watch in the general classification from Denmark.
It's crazy. Like, I thought Skjelmose was going to do a really good stage here, but I was only thinking about podium. And Evenepoel was for sure the man to beat here, and he was just, yeah, he was done at the end.
He had quite the spring, didn't he? 8th in Amstel, 2nd in Flèche Wallonne, 9th in Liège. We should see it coming. Decent in the Basque Country. He's been solid since the start of the season. Here on the World Tour, though, in a stage race, he's taken the yellow jersey, and on this form, he's going to take some beating this week.
It's going to be hard to beat him, like what he showed here today, also in the final, dropping in the way he did it. It's a really impressive ride of him, and of course we saw some good things this spring from him already, but beating Remco Evenepoel in an uphill mountain finish, it's something new.
Ben Schulich going to come in here as at the front and was one of the first to try and follow Evenepoel when he went with almost 7 kilometres to go. Comes in 2 minutes 10 down in the end, and there's some fairly decent time gaps. And here's Stefan Kung, still fighting, hasn't completely lifted up the foot, decided he couldn't follow, but has refound some rhythm. He's going to come in and finish in a fairly respectable inside 3 minutes or so.
Yes, he's giving it his fight till the finish, and that's what you want to do if you're in the yellow jersey, right?
He knows all about this sport, doesn't he? He knows about his home crowd. This is a finish line they've been to before. Today under the rain, and today they have seen victory from a young man from Copenhagen who is highly talented, and who's taken his 3rd win of the season, but without doubt the biggest win of his career.
Yeah, and he looked pretty stressful actually after the finish. Like he showed some good results this year. He didn't win that much yet. I think he looked afraid to being cold, getting sick here. Was changing really quickly. It's also a bit new to him to win like this.
You've just beaten Remco Evenepoel. You want to make sure you don't get sick. You want to hold on and take the race to it if you can. Oh, for sure,
yeah. And when you have this form, you're just living on a line of sickness. So it's really important to stay warm and dry.
And suddenly Trek Segafredo looking very good for the Tour de France as well. Giulio Ciccone coming good. Mathias Skjelmose right up there. Maybe a team to be reckoned with too. A win for Denmark's latest cycling star. Just 22 years of age, but already right at the top. It's a first World Tour win in the career of Mathias Skjelmose. And as they follow in one by one, he was the man who did the damage, reacting cleverly to Remco Evenepoel's attack. But Evenepoel maybe doesn't quite have to go back to the drawing board. He's still very much in the fight for this race overall. He is, however, a man who will need to make sure that he stays up there.
Yes,
and calculates his
coming
efforts.
Up on the final day, he still has a big chance to win this GC here. And actually, I thought he was cracking, but he was hanging on in the second group, and he finished even in front of the second group. So he fought back, and he didn't lose too much time.
Well, it's a walk to the podium for Skjelmose. This was the moment he won. Taking the win over Felix Gall. And it was that move inside the final kilometre. Looks every bit the racer as well as the talented athlete. And time for a celebration as well.
At first I thought he was not aware of that he could get in the GC because he was playing games with Felix Gall. And then he attacked and he just went, and I think he totally felt that he could GC here. He felt the need to go directly to the finish as hard as possible. But I think he's also really happy with winning a stage here.
Well, he takes the 10 bonus seconds as well. They'll help. 21 seconds over the line, the difference between him and Evenepoel. That means now the GC sees him with a 17-second lead over Evenepoel, who's in second. Skjelmose wins the stage ahead of Gall. Ayuso in third at 12 seconds, then 21 to Evenepoel, Uijtdebroeks, Bilbao, Kelderman and Uran. A great fighting performance from Magnus Sheffield, who was dropped a little earlier than most, but really fought his way up the climb well. He's still up there in the general classification as well, by the way. And Romain Bardet, well, a few seconds off. Maybe something to think about for him. He's at 45 after today. And that changes the general classification in the following way. Skjelmose leads by 17 from Evenepoel, 24 from Ayuso, who's on the podium. Sheffield fighting to stay in fourth place.